What's up, everybody? Another episode of the Recruiting Intel, Oklahoma Recruiting with Chris Mason, Sooners 360. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Chris Griffin, Horns Down Podcast. We are here. Guys, I am finally out of my funk. Had a great holidays. Hope you guys did too. Finally out of my funk. This loss, it stung so much because you just knew what could have been, what should have been, what would have been, coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Chris Mason, I'll say, I said it before, I'll say it again. Even though on paper I said 10-2 before the season even started, I said that.
Yeah.
I will go on a limb again and say I think that this team overachieved just a little bit. And you know what? I'm happy about that because I still feel that this team is a year ahead of schedule of where it's supposed to be. If the chips fall, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight, people, but if the chips fall in the right places, guys, we're looking at, I know we still got some season to play. I know that we do, but we're getting close to January. We'll be there Thursday. Chris Mason, we have a chance to be a top 10 team to start the season, if not higher.
I did a preseason. I did some looking ahead thoughts on my Patreon. Shout out to my Patreon.
Go
Go to
ahead.
Patreon. Go to patreon.com. Search for Sooners 360. I posted an article there where I did a preseason top 10. And Chris, I had OU as number 7,
Okay.
and that's before we know everything about the portal and additions and subtractions and quarterbacks and whatever. But just a pure guess on the portal. I had OU 7th, and I think that's a pretty accurate read here. I will pull up my top 10 from my Patreon and just give you guys a sample of it here.
Ben G, we're not saying that. Ben G's like, where'd you put my horns?
Oh, I put the horns in place. So here's my top 10 preseason top 10 as of tonight.
Go ahead.
All right. So Ohio State's number 1 since they're going to return Sayin and the Smith kid. I got, if Dante Moore comes back, I have Oregon number 2.
Okay. Keep going.
UGA 3 since they're going to return Stockton and the bulk of their young defense. Their wide receiver core is their biggest issue in my opinion. If Bama gets Simpson back, I have Bama at 4. I have Notre Dame at 5, especially with Marcus Freeman just announcing his return. CJ Carr is coming back. I know they lose their 2 big running backs, but they've recruited the running back position about as well as anybody in the country. I have Texas at 6. The arch hype is going to put them there, but they've got some serious issues to work out at running back, offensive line, and linebacker, and D
I was
line.
about to say defense for sure. Like
And
that,
defense, a big
they'll be
defensive
okay.
transition.
Yeah.
So, but I figured with Arch coming back, they'll be at number 6. I got OU at 7. I got Indiana at 8, depending upon who their transfer quarterback will be. I have Texas A&M at 9 because I couldn't come up with another team to put there. Same for number 10. I have USC at 10, but of course this is before they lost their DC today. So,
Chris Mason, where's Miami?
well, Miami's losing Mesidor, Ruben Bain, most of their offensive line and their quarterback.
All right. Look, folks, there you have it. We won't waste any more time. We know what you guys came here for.
Yeah. But that's an example of where, honestly, I took an honest look at that, and that's where I put OU. I mean, number 7. Let's talk about why we think some retention stuff is going to help us with that.
So let's go ahead. Great segue. Guys, we're going to talk about retention first, retention deals, retention everywhere. Obviously, the big names, and maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't. It doesn't seem to be green screen information or show information. It seems like it's starting to get the rounds. I mean, the thought is that is there a stronger chance now that we keep Kip and Satania?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be both George Stoya and Parker Thune have been hinting that they think OU has a good chance of retaining both. My OU sources seem to agree with that, believe that. They sent me some information this morning before that stuff leaked elsewhere. Overall, it looks like OU has a very good chance of getting Kip and Isaiah Satania back. which is huge. That's your number one offensive player. And when you think about the defense OU returns, if you add Kip Lewis to it, OU legitimately would have seven all SEC type performers on their first team returning defense.
Mhm.
Jaden
So,
Dixon, David
okay.
Stone, Tyler Wine, Kip, the Bowens, and Cortland Guillory.
So obviously we got to keep it on going. Let's stay there at the defensive side since you talked about Kip. So let's focus on the linebacker room for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, Kobe McKenzie is in the portal. I've heard as much as there are conversations there as far as, hey, maybe take your name out of the portal, right? Got to see what Kip is going to do first, obviously. But he's kind of he's the green dot guy. I feel like you have two green dot guys in him and Heineke, but Heineke's situation is still way, way up in the air because the NCAA cannot. Um, they can't get out of their own way. Now they're allowing, G League two-way players who appeared 8 times in the NBA, not the G League, the NBA, to still get eligibility in college, but we cannot help out a kid that played 3 games in a different sport than football. But I digress, Chris Mason. Linebacker room. What? Okay, let's throw two scenarios out there. Scenario one, Kip stays. What do you do in the portal? Scenario two, Kip leaves. What do you do in the portal?
I think if Kip stays and the sort of upswell and chatter about OU wanting to get James Nesta into the two deep and go there, um, I think you take if Kip stays, you maybe only take one guy.
And that would that be the house kid from UNC if you could or no?
No, I think it would be Owen Long from Colorado State or Owen Chambliss from San Diego State.
So let me ask you this question. I mean, the more the merrier. If you can get a kid like the house kid, why wouldn't you bring him in here? Because you're going to need depth, right?
He's a smaller linebacker. He may be more of a cheetah in the OU system.
Got you. Is I'll say that for another segment with the cheetah spot. But as far as if you do, so if you keep him, you're looking at those other two of the Colorado State kid and the San Diego State kid. Which out of those two do you like the most?
Well, the buzz has been on Owen Long longer, but the Chambliss kid just hit the portal. Um, he may be a better, he may be a better, he's a bigger kid. He seems to be a little more physical with a little better stats. So I think they probably would like either one. They might take both regardless to just because Chambliss, I think Owen Long's got 2 years and I think Chambliss has 2 years as well. So both of those guys could help you next year and then help you get through a transition in 27, which is obviously part of what Nagy's doing here. So I think if you just took a look at the two guys, I think probably Owen Long. It seems to be the guy that they've targeted earlier.
So is there a chance that we take both because the numbers we're going to be a little bit thin because obviously Kobe Heineke with that situation there. I mean, if the NCAA was to come tomorrow and say that you're getting Heineke back, I think that would make you feel good because you have Samo, you would potentially have you would have Samo, potentially Kip, potentially Heineke, and then I guess that you
A,
would just
a,
make
a portal linebacker and then James Nesta. So
James
you'd
Nesta,
be five deep, and Marcus James. You'd be six deep at linebacker. Probably one of the freshmen, probably Jacob Curry, would probably be a guy who plays special teams and maybe gets into like a three deep.
yeah.
Of the linebackers, I think he's the most likely to do that.
Yeah. So I mean those are that's the thing. If Kip doesn't come, then I guess you would look at both an Owen Long, and the Chambliss kid, and potentially the House kid as well. Correct?
Yeah, and you might look at another guy. I mean, the kid from Bowling Green who has the weird name ESPN is his middle name. I keep forgetting. It's let me just pull it up real quick. I think they like the other two guys more, but they're also looking at the Bowling Green linebacker. Let me just pull up his name real quick. Gideon Lampron. Gideon Lampron would be probably the other guy they would look at maybe. If they were, I don't think that Chris. I'm not sure they go three pure linebackers in. I think two is probably the max they would look at. If they're going to take House, they're looking at him at Cheetah. Was what I heard.
For me, and Topher, bag me up on this. Hopefully, you will. But Chris Mason, I think you kind of got to take a leap of faith. Obviously, thinking that maybe Nesta will be the next guy up in that rotation, but just the fact that Sammy will take another step, a huge step, not necessarily physically, but mentally,
Right.
to really kind of round that room out as far as just those three initial starters, right? I mean that's what you're hoping because we know that he has the physical tools and the instincts. It just he has to become more instinctual and just smarter. Let the game slow down for him, I guess. Because to me, I think that's the thing. That's the key to the room coming into the season. Again, I always say, Chris Mason, there's always one guy on that defense, a few guys on the defense actually, that pop that nobody's really expecting anything from. Usually it happens in the DB room. Obviously, Cortland Guillory. I mean, you think of Tristan Haynes, who could be next, next year, right? With that's gonna be a hell of a battle in the spring, all the way leading up to fall camp. But when you look at that, you think the development of Nesta and Sammy O is going to be huge going into this off season. Like that's going to be a focal point for me, just trying to
And
figure.
what does Taylor Heim make a move with now
Yeah,
that
there's Taylor
now that
Heim, and you forget about Taylor Heim because they wanted him. They liked him at Cheetah. He played a little bit of kind of outside linebacker and stuff as well. So who's going to take that step? You know that the development is there. It's just who is going to be the guy that you can count on. But no, I mean if that's the case, then we'll go from there. But from what you can tell, what's the likelihood? What's the percentage or whatnot that you would give with Kip coming back? If you had to put a number on it.
I'm going to put I've got the Dean Blevins percentage I have to give. All right. I'm going to step out on a limb and say 80%.
Yeah.
I
So
think I think he's that solid coming back. I think the longer it stretches out, the more that Kip and OU are working on an agreement, and he hasn't gotten the feedback from the NFL that really makes him that makes it possible. So House is like 6 foot 210.
oh, so it's like a Kip situation all over again, putting weight and doing all that stuff, right?
Yeah, a little bit. So that's why I think Cheetah could be a possibility for him.
All right, so let's go ahead and go over to the next guy that I know we want to talk about as far as retention, and we'll talk about everybody else on the retention stuff. Satania.
Yep.
There's a possibility. I mean, I kind of feel like his draft stock could slightly improve just a little bit. I think that Satania is a perfect guy that can get picked up in maybe the third or fourth round, something like that. Because obviously, I don't think height is necessarily an issue anymore for receivers. It's a plus. It's a huge plus. But as far as for somebody like Satania with the speed and everything, I think next year maybe he gets a chance to actually show what he can do outside. I think if you make the right moves in the portal, if Pettit and some of those other freshmen, and then obviously we'll have to see, Giovanni Gibson, Jermichael Carter, if those guys develop and continue to improve like we've seen week in and week out with those guys this latter half of the season, I think that he may have some opportunities to be able to be put in situations to not only play inside slot but also play outside and actually really stretch the field. I think it's going to be hell for a lot of guys. Guys, the offense started to click. They started to get some motion. They found a rhythm in the Missouri game. It did not show up on the scoreboard. It did not show up in the stat sheet. But they started getting vertical. They started getting down the field. They started finding matchups and everything. Mateer started throwing the ball down the field. There's certain things that need to happen for Mateer that have to happen this offseason. But um, I will say
LSU and Bama, it looked a whole lot better. I mean, the
Arbuckle was not
decision making.
decision making. That was it. Arbuckle wasn't perfect, but he damn sure wasn't a problem.
There were guys open. There were plays to be made, and he made more plays in LSU and Bama than he had prior. So it seems like Satania is leaning to coming back. I would put that at like maybe 75%.
Mhm.
I think Kippa, I don't know. I think that the pull on the defensive side obviously is a little stronger. The teammates, that camaraderie going on that on that dominant, just eating defense, I think is probably a little stronger. But Satania had a good year, bet on himself, had a good year at OU.
Great year.
So great year at OU. So I think that's a definite possibility. OU's, leveraging the same thing they did to get our Mason Thomas and Deion Burks back. And I think you could draw a direct parallel between those two players and Satania and Kip Lewis. I think, to be honest, from that aspect, Kip is a huge leader. The Energizer Bunny on defense, the chart. He gets that defense psyched up. He makes big plays. So, realistically, I mean, again, if you get both of those guys back, those are all SEC second, third team. Those are all SEC guys. So, I think this is where retention is a huge deal, and the retention has gone very, very well, from what I'm being told in terms of the backup defenders, and the guys have all sort of talked, and we're kind of getting a trickle effect of guys confirming they're returning, and that's kind of to give each guy their moment in the spotlight, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so that's why you're seeing a trickle of the players. You're not seeing like 5 players on one day. So you're kind of seeing guys trickle through, confirming they're coming back. You're seeing that a little bit with the portal as well. I think they've also had some conversations about that. Let's not have 5 guys hit the portal on one day and create some kind of a panic on social media. Let's just have the guys dribble out before the second. And I think you're seeing that. We saw Troy Everett today. Probably see KJ Daniels. He already posted something on social media indicating he's about to post something. So I think the team has had kind of a conversation about that, the best way to handle this postseason information. So
Chris Mason.
yeah,
Let's stick to the retention. I see Anka here asking a question, but we'll get to those questions here in a second as far as just kind of projections for the portal and all the rest of that stuff as far as what we're going to do. Right now, we're in the retention segment, guys. Shout out to NIL Commish. Sub to this channel, y'all. Possibly the best channel for recruiting info. Sub to all 3 channels. Obviously, Horns Down Podcast, Sooners 360 Podcast. That's definitely the central location to get all of your recruiting info. If you want no fluff, you want all the good stuff, and you just want it right then and there, Chris Mason will do that. Go to the Patreon, subscribe. It's only $2, people. But with that being said, Chris Mason, other retention deals, just kind of the miscellaneous deals that I know people are going to want to talk about because we talked about them in the offseason. Jaden Jackson, David Stone, Marcus Strong. We'll stay on the D line for right now with those guys. Are there any? So I'll ask you about those 3, and then also I'll throw in the Amarian Robertson kid. Is there anything there? Because I know there's a lot of talk about, we were going to lose one of the Arkansas kids, and we already lost one in Wimberley,
yeah.
and hopefully he does well. But with those 4, just kind of enlighten us if you can.
Yeah, I mean, Stone and Jackson are taking care of, to the best of my knowledge. Strong, I believe, they're working to negotiate that. He's getting some offers from elsewhere, which we thought would happen. So I think they're just working, Nagy. This is where a GM is really helping us, right? That Brent doesn't have to focus on these things. You've got Nagy who can focus on this, set money, negotiate with their representatives, their agents, make sure that they're not presenting false information because Nagy has enough contacts to know what's real, what's not. So I think you may see something with Strong, just OU and Strong, just making sure that they're comfortable with both sides of what's going on. Amarian Robinson, as I understand it, I don't really want to get in guys' personal life too much, but I understand he has a young child in Arkansas. So I think that is I think OU will do what they need to keep him, just because he played this year as a freshman, which I was kind of stunned at, and OU's obviously telling him that you're going to play a lot, and then you're going to replace you're in line to replace Peyton Bowen, and then you're going to have 2 years to be a star, and then you're going to go to the NFL and be the third Sooner safety drafted, draft high draft pick. Billy Bowman, Peyton Bowen, and then that kind of that sequence, depending upon what Robert Spears Jennings does. So I think that's the issue there. But I think there's some positive feelings in the Switzer Center that Nagy is locking down the key retention targets that they had, especially locking down some of the younger defenders who we were kind of worried about would get poached by older teams. I think Marcus Strong is probably the only guy out there that is, and then Marcus wants to play for Todd Bates. I mean, he's just really close to Todd Bates, so I think they just want to get to a number where they both feel, where OU feels comfortable and Strong feels comfortable. Like, okay, OU's not matching this bizarre number I've gotten from this program that I don't really want to go to and don't want to play at because I don't know what's going to go on with my development. OU's just, Nagy's just trying to meet kids in the middle, close gaps, and not leave gaps for opposing teams to kind of stretch out. So,
is it too much to ask you right now? Are there any potential surprises as far as the current roster is concerned? I think a lot of people from the chat to us, my guy Topher, I don't know where Stevie G is at, but I know that there shouldn't necessarily be any surprises. I think we all have an idea of the guys that we think are going to jump into the portal, but are there any surprises that you could foresee?
I don't know how OU will be able to juggle the money to keep both Gentry Williams and Jacoby Johnson. So if that's a surprise to you, then that's a surprise. If it's not, then I think somewhere on the offensive side of the ball might be, we could see a surprise or two, just because of, I think, just the performance there was lower, so some guys are looking for playing time. Obviously, we moved 3 freshmen into the starting lineup. Some guys are going to take, a different perspective on that. So yeah, there's some surprise there. Wide receiver, I think you need to prepare yourself for some names appearing there. Jason, are you joining us for our show? Okay. Okay. All right. So I think Chris, the wide receiver room is about to have a little carnage occur.
Okay. I mean, and rightfully so. There's a lot of attrition there.
There's some names that haven't hit the portal yet. They're going to hit the portal, and maybe a couple of guys that you're like, oh well, you didn't really develop those guys or use those guys correctly. You're right, but they just didn't perform. So yeah.
So, all right, now, guys, if you have any questions as far as what we're about to move into, we're about to move into the next segment, which is going to be portal targets. Obviously,
well, do you want to hit are we going to do the big portal target first?
Yeah, that's a part of it. It's all in the same.
All right.
So I was just about to go into that. So obviously, we're going to produce projections. We're going to talk about it. There's a huge name that just went in that is now the new number 1 wide receiver in the transfer portal. And that would be none other than Cam Coleman, who is the wide receiver there at Auburn University. So, Chris Mason, we've talked about it on and off screen so much about what potentially could happen there because we knew the dumpster fire that was. We called it, all 3 of us, you, myself, and Jason. We called it. We wanted JFA to do pretty damn good, pretty damn well there at Auburn, just not against OU. But that didn't happen. A lot of things didn't happen there, didn't go right there. And you kind of wonder, what is it that made him get out there? It had to be the money. It had to be probably new opportunities, simply because I think that Byron Brown is going to be a really good quarterback, and he may be really good at Auburn. I'm not sure he's going there. I'm sure that he's going there. That offense is high flying, but I just feel like it's a watered down system now because damn near half of the SEC is trying to run this this veer and shoot, right? And we know that he can put up yards. We know he can do that, but who's going to be his quarterback? Is it Deuce Knight or is it the Byron Brown kid, right?
Yeah.
So I know Auburn's going to do everything they can to try to keep him, but there are teams that are going to lure him. And with no further ado, it seems like, it either seems like or it should seem like OU would be really interested in this kid.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously he's the number one wide receiver target in the portal. Lots of programs have been sitting waiting to see if there was a decision. Auburn obviously was putting out a lot of what's the right word? Was putting out a lot of sort of rumors and news in the background saying, no, he's not going anywhere. He's staying at Auburn. So, and obviously Auburn's been working him night and day since their new coach got hired. So he's obviously going to be a big time recruit, a big time portal recruit, and all that. So I can only tell you what I've gotten from the OU end, okay? And that is that OU's had a working budget that Nagy has been working around in terms of retention and in terms of portal targets. But at the post Bama, post LSU, post Mizzou, whatever time frame you want to use, because I think there are various time frames out there that make sense. OU money guys very clearly told Nagy that they were willing to up whatever he needed if an elite player hit the portal. I mean, I've told Chris and Jason this in sort of our green room behind the scenes a couple of times. For about a month, I've been telling him this, that the donors were bought in. Donors were bought in after that, and the big money guys were like, if you need more money for an elite guy, come back to us.
Hold
So
on,
this,
hold on one second, Chris Mason. Jason,
Where is that?
Turn your ringer off and then check your text.
I just did check my text, but where is that at?
If we can't get it back up, it's all right. Just go ahead.
Go ahead. I can go back. It should be there still.
okay. All right. So essentially, OU's been working under one budget, okay? And Nagy's been managing towards that. And then he's always known that if some player that he absolutely wants, that he thinks is a difference maker, hit the portal, that there was extra funds to make a legitimate run at that person. Not waste their representation's time, none of that from that perspective. So my sources say that OU is prepared to be a big player in the Cam Coleman sweepstakes, for lack of a better word.
Ooh.
They're engaged already. They're engaged as much as they're allowed, and obviously, OU is going to make a big effort to get Cam Coleman. Jim Nagy believes that if you add Coleman as OU's number one wide receiver, and you've brought back Satania at number 2, that OU has a lot of talent that could be the third wide receiver in that group to make a powerful attack. That Cam Coleman requires extra coverage. That helps the running game if they've got to put a safety. They've got to put a safety further back to keep an eye on Cam. It means you can't double Satania, which is it was hard to tell from the Bama game, but obviously Bama did everything they could do to try and take Satania away. And Deion Burks kind of feasted on that, which was nice to see. And Carter and Gibson also made plays as well. So it was nice to see that OU had some alternatives there. But if you have Coleman as your legit one, Satania as a number 2, can have a big year. And then we certainly think we've got some players developmentally and guys we saw at the end of last year that could be, a third wide receiver depending upon what we do schematically and all that. But I think you also got to factor in if you've got to play too high safety to factor in to worry about Cam Coleman and now Isaiah Satania, that opens some things up from a running game perspective. It's harder to keep as many players in the box. I'm talking basic football 101, right? If you're having to play too high safety and focus more on the wide receivers, it just opens things up in a running game for you. I mean, it's just
Well,
that's basic football, right? So
not only that, but it opens up things for. I mean, a lineup like that would open up things for Giovanni Gibson, Jermichael Carter. Those guys will be running those deep digs. They'd be running a lot of different things, and I think that the offense would change as well. People, that's one thing we still got. We still have to keep in our mind. We have to push that to the forefront. The offense this year is gonna. We're still gonna have a lot of the basics, a lot of some of the same semantics, vernacular, everything that you want to basically pull from this year and push over to next year, right? A lot of same terminology, but it could look a little bit different. It could look a lot different because I'm still going to go out on a limb and say Art Buckle is a guy that says I'm a coach that will develop an offense around the talent that I'm giving, right? The offense, this, that, whatever the case may be. So I think that things change with a Cam Coleman, guys like that, because you're able to actually stretch the field. Again, Chris Mason, like I said in the text, I think Amari Miller, to me, is a no brainer, a one B, a 1A, whatever you want to call it. If you're not able to really, win that Cam Coleman sweepstakes, which is going to take a lot to win it, because as my uncle always says, money talks and bullcrap walks. If that guy goes, Mario Miller is somebody that I think comes in. He's a bigger, and I think he may be a little bit faster than Burks, but he's a bigger Burks. He's what you thought you were going to be able to get with Burks. He's a guy that can get it on the outside and the inside. We've seen him do more with less. We've seen him do more with more. Right, we've seen him with Shador. We've seen him without Shador as well. I think that he's a kid that will come in here from day one and compete for a starting spot, take a starting spot, and show why he was before Cam Coleman jumped into the portal. If not number one, then one of the top receivers in that portal class early, simply because the guy can get it on. But he's somebody that I'd be looking at as well. And I tell a lot of Sooner fans, keep your eyes on that kid too.
yeah, I mean he's obviously the second sort of major target at wide receiver right now, and the wide receiver pool could increase with a couple more elite guys out there. Some names floating around. Obviously, Clemson had a terrible bowl game. Just fired their offensive coordinator. So you have to wonder if perhaps a couple of the Clemson wide receivers who were stuck in that scheme, stuck with Klubnik, might hit the portal. Those names have been thrown out before. OU's got connections with both of them in the past, so you could possibly see something there. I don't think it. I don't think you. I don't think if OU is to get Cam Coleman, I don't think they're Amari Miller's out the door. It's just I don't know what the price and what it would take and where you need to fill in the other pieces as well. So
Who is this? Who is this kid that keeps talking about, this Boston College wide receiver? Do we know anything
yeah,
about?
he's like 6'5", 220. I don't know anything about him. I've not heard any indication that OU's following him yet. There's also this.
He's a stud. He's a stud, man. I watched some of his film earlier today. He's a bad dude.
He's a big kid. I don't know much about him other than that. So we kind of have big kids. So if you add Coleman, we already have big kids as well. So if you don't get Coleman, things could get creative. So just two things to remember about Jim Nagy. One, OU didn't bring him in to just offer every X5 star that hits the portal, right? That's not how OU's playing this game. OU brought him in because of his acumen in finding the best talent in college football from all levels and getting into the Senior Bowl, and now translating that to finding gems, underutilized players, underappreciated assets, and players that are on lower levels of football. And we'll get to some names here in a little bit, where we're going to talk about some names as well. So that's part of what why you brought Jim Nagy in. But you also brought him in to handle the negotiation for a premier asset in a fiscally responsible manner and do it in the most professional way possible, right? So OU's not just going to be some drunken sailor throwing numbers at Cam Coleman. Nagy's going to negotiate this, find out what the numbers are, push what's last. Let me know when last bests need to go in. What do you and from that perspective. So I think you need to keep that in mind. But to think there's two narratives like, well, you never would have the money to sign Cam Coleman. Well, that's false. They're gonna push all their chips in, and maybe Nagy's doing at some point. Nagy realized it's gamesmanship, and he's gonna push as many in to make sure A&M and Texas are wasting as many resources as they can to land him. So that's a possibility. But
What?
I do think you need to for those that don't think that OU is going to be competitive in this. There's a guy I trust in recruiting. His name's Colin Kennedy. He works for 247. He works for Sooners Illustrated, and he posted that he thinks OU is going to be involved in this, and he's never out in front. He's never trying to have the big scoop. Colin is a very dedicated, professional recruiting reporter who only posts stuff when he's got sources to back it up. And he says he thinks OU is going to be a player in this, and I believe him. There's a lot of message board folks throwing stuff around, but I think OU is going to be involved in this. Don't be surprised if Coleman visits Norman and things go from there. So I think it's interesting, but I do think everyone's like, why did you spend this much money here? Well, it would amplify everything else that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, it has a carryover effect from everything else that OU is doing. So, offensively, it would make OU very difficult to defend from a passing aspect, which would help with the run game, which we need to rebuild.
So Chris Mason, speaking of that, that's a great segue. Let's move to the running backs. So there's three backs that have jumped into the portal that everybody is talking about. Oh, well, excuse me, I said three. I mean, there's two backs and one guy that I think everybody has their eyes on because they're trying to figure out what the hell Kiffin is going to do down there. We know he's going to do really good things. He's going to do some great things down there. But the portal, we know that he's kicking out every old lineman that he has. But regardless, though, Chris Mason, three names come to mind when I think of portal and running back additions to this room. Obviously, Hollywood Smothers is already in the portal. We just saw Sawchuck jump back into the portal. Kind of feel like you're kicking yourself right now because you feel like he could have helped us this year. You think?
He could have caught that. He could have caught that pass that went to X Rob.
Yeah, Caden Durham. That's another name out there that you kind of have to look at just to see what does Kiffin do? What are his X factor moves? You're looking at that roster because you know that he is the quote unquote portal king, right? So we got to see what Kiffin is going to do there. But those are three backs that I would love to see potentially get into OU's room. Smothers, obviously you see the production. Sawchuck, you kind of know what you're getting in him. And Caden Durham is just kind of a wild card. You don't know if he's going to jump in the portal or not. I think that he would like to stay, but you never know down there at Baton Rouge what's going to go down. So, Chris Mason, what's your thoughts as far as running back additions in the portal?
Well, you didn't mention the name I thought you were going to mention.
Oh, go ahead. Oh! I got an OSU friend that's watching right now. That boy's nervous. Go ahead, Chris.
I think go ahead.
So Caleb Hawkins at North Texas is in the portal. My sources say that OU is definitely going to try and disrupt that obvious transition to Stillwater.
I could see that.
And he's had a big year. I could think that's a possibility. Sounds like OU's interested in I think his name's Lloyd Avant from Colorado State. George Stoya mentioned him. He's kind of an all-purpose back, a specialist. I think if you get Avant, that means you get two backs in the portal, which I can understand. You've got your two primary backs coming out of this year are both potentially going to have surgeries. Blaylock and X-Rob. So you want to have some bodies in spring, and you got a bigger roster at 105. So I think two running backs make sense. They're also the Wayne Knight kid from JMU has also OU has contact has some follows from OU. So guys, when you're with recruiting, I have contacts in the back that can give me information. Okay, On the portal, it's much harder to know what's going on. And a little bit of the social media research is how we kind of get some of these names. So when I say that OU's kind of contacting a guy, that means that some follows have been going on. And Wayne Knight has been followed by some OU sources, and he's the JMU running back. He's a smaller back, 5'7", 190. Kind of thick, but he's had a great year for JMU. He did a pretty good. He did a good job against Oregon, as much as anybody on that team was doing it. I mean, their offense, put up a good fight in that game for a little while at least. But I think it all depends. Durham's got to get in the portal. I'm not sure where he is with OU from that perspective. I don't know that you go back with Gavin Sawchuk. I think Gavin probably wants to go somewhere where he's going to be the feature back. I don't know where that is. Certainly wasn't FSU. They split his carries between two other backs that I can think of in the FSU games I watched, which weren't many, by the way, but a couple of the games.
The freshmen seem like they got a lot of snaps. I think.
And the Coleman kid, is that right? That's not right.
Yeah, no, I'm lying. Yeah, it's two back. They have two backs that went to the portal. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the Chroma kid. So that's what I think OU's going to get. I think OU wants two backs because let's just face it, Tatum's not coming back. I think we can just all admit that's what's going on, whether he plays baseball somewhere, football somewhere else. But his lack of his lost season and the fact that he didn't get any play against in the second Bama game when we really needed another running back, I think kind of tells you all you need to know about his institutional status. So, just didn't work out. I mean, he was the number one back in the nation for a reason, and his freshman year, it certainly looked like he was going to be the dude.
It feels like that concussion that he got against Tennessee kind of derailed everything because he got rung up.
Yeah, and they
got the fumbles after that, and
yeah. So it's not been. It's probably time for a reset for both parties. I mean, right? You change the pace for both parties. I know he's bringing in two backs that they like as freshmen, so I can see that. But I would say I think the Caleb Hawkins thing is the wild card. Can OU disrupt what appears to be everyone presuming he's going to OSU? He's from is it Shawnee? I think that's right. From Oklahoma. So can OU
Here's what I would say about that though. I mean, to me, that's the most expensive guy out there as far as the portal, what he's going to demand in the portal. And why would you go make that move when you can go and get some of these other guys for a better deal? And you're talking about not spending money if you're not going to spend that kind of money on every 5-star or every guy that's the number one ranked dude or whatever in the portal. Why would you go and do that with a guy like that when you don't really know what you have in the room? And I liked what you said last week about if your dog's going to bite, he's going to bite as a puppy when you were talking about Jonathan Hatton. I want to see what's going on there. I don't want to stunt the growth of the guys that you already have there any more than it already is if they're not going to change, the way that they do things running the football and run the ball more with running backs. I mean, I don't want to see these guys not getting carries because you brought in some guy that he did something in the American Conference.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Jason. I do think that if Kawan Lacey leaves Ole Miss, that'll be a feeding frenzy. Sure. If I was Ahmad Hardy, I'd be telling Coach Drink, I'm going in the portal after the way you completely misused me in that suck-ass bowl game we just lost, where you were running Zellers instead of me on critical downs. No, you haven't missed it, McGill. We're going to talk about tight ends just here in a minute. But yeah, I think again, I think Hawkins would have to fit in a price point that OU's interested in, and if he says, well, I want $1 million, it'd be like, well, I want Heidi Klum in my office right now. I mean, since my wife's not on here, I mean, there's all stuff we want. So I think it's an interesting thing in terms of how that perspective works. Now, you can certainly pitch to Hawkins or Smothers that, look, our two primary backs are probably out in spring, okay? Mm-hmm. Or we're going to be holding them back heavily in spring. We're going to have two freshmen who we want to give the rock to a lot to get them acclimated. But other than that, you have a chance in spring, walk in, hit it, and take over. So,
So so if I could jump in here, this is what I would
yeah.
say. So first off, Jason, you're right because the numbers are going to be inflated a little bit simply because, um, as my friend, if he's watching, he'll know this. OSU is supposedly that sleeping dragon that's sitting on all that gold, right? That 40 million.
Oh Lord,
So
yeah, and
they're gonna have
with
inflated numbers.
North Texas's roster. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. But regardless, though, a kid like that or whatnot, I get what you're saying. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think you're going to stunt anybody's growth simply because of what Chris Mason just pointed out. Guys are going to have plenty of opportunity. And I think that um, Hatton fits what the mold of what a running back should look like in Demarco's running scheme. But even at that, you have to go out there and get production. You have to go out there and get another reliable guy. Idealistically,
But you have to, but to get production, you got to actually commit to the run game. Yeah.
Jason, I get what you're saying, but again, I think a lot of people, a lot of OU fans, they have short term memories because it's like, hey, we got the run game going at some point in the season. Then these fuckers got hurt. I don't know what else to tell y'all because I sat right there by you, my friend, and I said I think X Rob is still hurt. I
Well,
don't think
X was still hurt for sure, but Torrey was hurt all
Laylock,
year and played his ass off.
he played his ass off. I'll give him that. But again, you're sitting there looking at the bench and you're saying we got Tatum, who's a former number one running back in the nation, played as a true freshman, can't get on the field for whatever reason. Is he still injured or what's going
Well,
on?
he's hurt. He's hurt.
Then on top of that, we have another running back on the roster that we're paying $800,000. We haven't done our homework, or we haven't done real homework. I feel like in the portal the last 2 seasons, Sam Franklin was a bust. Ott was a bust, but we
Well,
need
everybody was a bust at 24. So,
no, and I get that, but
I mean,
hear me out. Hear me out on this, guys. This is what everybody has to understand. We are in a championship window. Okay. We're in a championship window, and those windows don't come often. At some point, we're going to have to hit the reset button and get guys in here and turn this team over to a Hawkins or that we already have on the roster, or potentially Bo Bentley. We're going to have to, at some point, we're going to have to get guys acclimated and get used to saying new names. There's not going to be any more Samuels, not going to be any more Kips. We're in a championship window, and it should be win now effort. Now, it shouldn't be, Jason, I agree with you. It should not come at some crazy cost to where we're gutting our team and not addressing real issues because we're trying to
Depth
win.
on the O line or tight
Yeah,
ends.
you need to spread that wealth, but you're not going to just if you get Cam Coleman, you're
I
betting a
didn't say
lot.
that about Cam Coleman, bro. I didn't say that
No,
about
I'm
Cam
just saying
Coleman.
if you're getting a Cam Coleman or some of these other guys, but you cannot afford to go out there and pay somebody $800 for no
well,
production.
yeah, yeah. So let's just be clear. I
Go ahead.
mean,
Go ahead.
Nagy screwed up on Ott, and obviously that was a lesson learned there. And let's hopefully he learned that lesson
Was it a
moving
screw up, or
forward.
was it just he just busted when he just didn't get it done on his own, because he was a take no matter he was a take for a lot of
Okay, okay.
programs around the
Yeah,
country.
that's fair, but it didn't work, right? I mean, the
No,
end
I'll give you
result.
that part. No,
The
I
end,
think
and
that he
there's a
obviously didn't
lesson.
live
There's a
up.
lesson learned, from that. But I think,
Right.
put the Cam. Just want to stress the guys. The Cam Coleman thing is sort of like, look, this is money. This is like, I'm trying to find the right analogy for you guys. This is kind of like Nagy's got a working budget. He's going to fix or fit in the best guys and the roster spots that OU needs within a moving budget, depending how much he has to spend to retain the key guys he wants, right? Because we
Right.
know guys like David Stone got a pay raise, Taylor Wine got a pay
All
raise.
American.
You
He was an
guys got
All-American, yeah.
guys got pay raises. We need to keep those guys, and Nagy knows that more than anybody if you listen to his interviews. But the Coleman thing is kind of like, hey, let us know if Coleman's really interested with a number we can afford, and then we've got that number for you, right? So, but we've got
There's some guys that you go above your number and
and
you
you got
do what you got to
and
do.
your donors have told you that. If this is a
Sure,
real
of course.
deal and you need money over the top to make this happen, call me. It's done, right? So that running back, I think OU very much wants to get a good running back, and they'll get the best running back for the money that they want to spend at running back, knowing that they spend a little more to get that Hatton in recruiting. Remember, OU erased a little bit of an NIL edge there, right? They've got X-Rob and they've got Blaylock coming back. You just need to they'll have quiet springs. So I think that's all set up. But if you don't mind, Chris, can we move to the topic of we move to tight end?
Oh, we can go to tight end. Go ahead.
All right. So it's pretty much out everywhere. I've got sources saying it as well. OU leads big for Hayden Hansen, the UF tight end. They will probably bring him on campus, and he'll never leave.
Weight and height.
6'7", 270 pounds. And if you want to, and everyone's like, sometimes like, well, the LSU boards think he's like Barra Sharp. I'm like, shut the F up. This guy brutalized Texas in their game in Gainesville. And the Florida offense was an unholy mess. He's a huge kid. He crunches people left and right.
Yeah, Jaden Ball was getting sprung from that guy.
Yeah, and how did they do that against Texas's run defense, which pretty much kept everybody in check? Their run defense did, for the most part, all year long. They did it because they ran behind Hansen, who was crushing their DNs and outside linebackers. He abused them for 60 minutes. And if you want any answer why, Eichert talked about it in the Florida recap on the breakdown. He's like, I don't know what they did, but Florida's tight end abused those guys. So you want to win the Texas game? We got a big tight end who hates Texas, who's from Weatherford, Texas, and hates Texas defenders. So that's probably, OU's going to sign 3 guys, okay? So 2 names to focus on that are, I'm going to tell you the names. You're going to be like, why the hell are we looking at those guys? Just remember, value. He's looking for players and underappreciated assets and players at lower levels of football. So Dorian Thomas from New Mexico State hit the portal. He's 6'4", 240. He's a true receiving tight end. Had a big game versus Michigan last year where he didn't look overmatched against the best talent that they played. He had like 7 catches for 70 yards. Good-looking tight end. Then there's a name out of nowhere. He plays at Minnesota Duluth. All right? It's a lower level of college football. Before you freak out, these are the guys Nagy routinely pulled from lower levels of football, had them show up at the senior day, dominate, and get drafted. This kid's 6'5", 245, runs easily like a 4.6 or faster. He had 1,200 yards receiving, and he's just like a gazelle out there in the highlights. I mean, the competition is low, but literally they can't tackle him. They can't cover him. When he's in blocking places, he's blowing kids up. And it's 1,200 yards receiving from the tight end position, guys. I don't care what level it's at. The guy's got great ball skills, so keep an eye out for that. All right, this is a nugget that I'm giving you guys. It's nowhere else on the net. So there's pay sites you can go to. They're not telling you this. OU is more in play with Brody Foley from Tulsa than most folks generally realize. That's the 6'6", 260-pound tight end from Tulsa that Ohio State wants, SMU wants, and is generally considered to be the number 1 tight end in the portal. Nagy's obviously not ignoring that, and I'm not going to go any further into the details than I already just gave you. That don't keep it. OU is involved here and is not ignoring this situation. But when we're talking about underutilized assets and underappreciated assets, Foley sat on Indiana's bench last year, didn't have a single reception. Then he goes to Tulsa, he gets like 37 for 600 yards and like 8 TDs. So when we're talking about that OU is scouting players, looking for players, and all of a sudden someone shows up, you're like, well, why does this guy have like no yards and he's playing for this offense? Well, the offense sucks and they're not using him right. And Nagy and Lloyd Dawson and all their other scouts have pulled film and said, you know, that guy, he's being used wrong. If we pull him, he'll do stuff for us and we can get him at a and at a lower value that helps us build depth in the room. So don't be surprised if after Hanson, OU gets a good tight end, and then they take a flyer on a third guy, and you're like, well, why are we doing that? Well, they're trying to you buy low, sell high, right? This is a little bit of the money ball kind of stuff that Nagy kind of does. So there are 3 tight ends coming. They're clearing the room out. Okay, that's what's going on. That's what's happening at tight end. And all I can tell you is that I don't see any tight ends following Joe John Finley on social media, in high school recruiting or in the portal. And that's not the case at any other position, either high school or the portal on the OU roster in terms of players they're trying to acquire. So read into that what you will.
All right, let's move to any news on the O line as far as just kind of what's going on there.
Yep. So OU's following a couple of guys. The first one is Blake Cherry from Arkansas. He's a Sepulpa kid. I had an OU fan telling me they should have offered him 2 years ago. He's 6'5", 315. Maybe he's 6'4", 320, something like that. He can play guard. He can play center. Then they've contacted LSU. They appear to be working with LSU offensive linemen. I don't know what Lane Kiffin is doing, but like 8 offensive linemen from LSU have hit the portal, and it pretty much represents the 5 starters they have and their best backups. Yeah. It's baffling what he's doing. I don't know what he's got. I don't know if he's stealing the entire Ole Miss offensive line, or I don't know what's going on. But OU's in contact with DJ Chester. He played center for LSU this year. He struggled. LSU's offensive line was a mess. I don't know if that was coaching, the program, what, but he's a talented kid. He's 6'5", 320, highly rated, would come in with a couple of years to work, and again, could play center, offensive guard, or right tackle. And if you remember Nagy, I keep hinting at the interviews that Nagy has. He's talking about, I don't want any offensive lineman who can't play more than one position. And the only exception to that would be an elite left tackle. If you're an elite left tackle, I got no problem with that. But if you're a right tackle, you better be ready to slide and play right guard. And if you're a guard, you better be ready to be cross-trained at center and at left guard. So both of these guys would fit that situation and would give OU some good depth. They got a couple of years to play. Pretty sure Beatonbaugh's evaluated them before, and OU's looked at some film and said Arkansas had a productive offense this year. They ran the ball. They threw the ball on most everybody. They've got some productive players on the offensive side of the ball. I wouldn't touch a defender from Arkansas with a 10-foot pole, but one of their offensive linemen, sure, and especially some guy who's got some connection to OU and that Beatonbaugh was evaluating prior. On the defensive line, we've got 3 interesting names to follow. The first one is Cody Sigler from Arkansas State, followed by all OU coaches. George Stoyer, in a Sooner Scoop article, mentioned that he thinks OU's highly interested in him. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. He's a brick wall at nose guard. He got 35 tackles, 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. So he would basically be your 4th defensive tackle, insurance against losing strong, insurance against somebody getting hurt, insurance against Nigel Smith or Trenton Wilson not quite picking it up, which I don't think is going to be the case with either guy. But he fits in with what we would want, fits in that rotation. It's funny. I mean, I saw Gabe and Teddy talk. We need to upgrade the defensive tackle position, and I get what Lehman's saying, and he's a linebacker, and I can understand that. But who are you going to get better than Jaden Jackson and David Stone in the portal? I mean, there's nobody in the portal better than those guys right now.
No, and everything you're hearing is that all the good things about Trent. You're hearing all these good things about Nigel. Nigel's been doing this thing, and Wyatt Gilmore and all these guys. I mean, these guys are. I don't know that you're going to have to get too heavy in it, but you got to go get some depth. I mean, it doesn't hurt to go grab a depth piece or something.
Depth piece, right? And like, well, why are we going to Arkansas State? Well, because the guy from LSU wants too much money, and he's not that good. Well, and we've got 3 guys better than him. So
I think defensive line, you don't even ask those questions. Lacey, Bothroyd. Bothroyd was from Wake Forest. So we know he put up some numbers out there, but still, like, you went and got those guys, and those guys were by no means superstars, but they were great pieces to our defense, and
They were
they were
depth pieces.
I
They would
think
be
laced
depth pieces today. So if
yeah,
we
the
can get a
great
depth
depth pieces,
piece,
yes.
we can get a depth piece, somebody who's going to basically beat up our O line in practice, and we can scale back, keep Jaden and David a little lighter load, and this Cody Sigler guy is going to go at it. And again, another example, lots of reps for Wilson and Nigel Smith. Right? We don't need to be overworking Jaden Jackson and Stone in spring. We just
Well,
don't.
not only that, but in my opinion, I think another thing that you bring these kids, you would go and get a guy like that. It elevates your room because guys have to
Yep.
elevate their play. You're getting paid, but you're still going to have to go out there and produce, right? You want to start, you want to get the numbers, you want to get the opportunity, or whatever the case may be. It just boosts. And I think defensively, again, there's going to be some battles out there. I think obviously we know and we feel that Jaden Jackson and David Stone, which I'm excited about those two because they already have chemistry. Those two starting is going to be a problem. It's going to be a beast, but at the same time, it's going to be battles all over that defense next year. And I can't wait to see it because I think we're going to get the best of the best out there on the ones and twos, and I think the threes are going to be going to be literally chipping at their chance to really get on the field. Defensively, I love where we're going.
Yeah. So there's also a name that Todd Bates is following. And I don't know how he must have found him because Nagy found him. His name is Balaam Miller from St. Francis University, which I'm not quite sure where that is and what level that is. But he's 6'5", 310. And I've watched some film, and he is a very athletic 6'5", 310 guy. He's got 2 years to play. This is the kind of guy Bates takes an under raw asset that Nagy finds and says, hey, this is how I think it goes in my mind, right? Nagy says, hey, look at this guy from St. Francis University. Just look at this guy play. And Bates goes, well, his pad level's too high, he's a mess. And then Nagy says, yeah, he's 6'5", 310. Whoa, okay. Well, I could do something with that in 2 years. And then all of a sudden, he's available next year. When we lose guys, he's now a senior. So you see how this kind of works. There's a defensive end that kind of gave us a little, I don't want to say trouble, but he played well against us, called Khalil Poteet. He's from Temple. He's 6'5", 280. He can play inside. He can play outside. He got 30 tackles. Thank you, Topher. So Nagy made a comment that they were looking for guys when they were scouting, when they were looking at OU game film, right? Who gave us trouble? Who played well? Who were guys that we should keep an eye on and assets? And when you looked at the Temple film, he gave us a little bit of a problem. He gave, I think he gave Dennis Simmons kind of a rough day that day, if I recall right. It's been a little while since I looked at the Temple game. So that's an example of kind of what's going on there. You may see that. Some other defensive linemen may hit, but I don't think OU's going after like a 5-star defensive tackle because we got to. Taylor Wine
you have to play those guys. You have to play those guys a majority of the time.
Taylor Wine could be a preseason All-American. I mean, does that sound stupid to you guys? It doesn't sound stupid to me. I mean, that doesn't sound Homer-like to me that Taylor Wine could be a preseason All-American in 2026. So you've got those guys. You've got PJ. You've got Danny Okoye, who could just like blow up in spring. So those are some spots there in terms of guys we may look at. So just keep in mind when you hear a name, don't just go, it's a lower level Jag, guys. Jim Nagy.
Even even the great Josh McCuistion was saying that on Twitter all last night. I know.
It's I mean, the best SEC running back was Armand Hardy from Louisiana. Brazel was a transfer from somewhere else as well at wide receiver. There's talent, and there are talent. You got to evaluate and scout it right. And I feel stronger about the department we have doing that than anything that we had before. I mean, you talk about Jim Nagy saying he's got 2,000 dossiers on players for the portal that they've been evaluating and stack ranking. Okay. That sounds pretty damn impressive to me.
Yeah.
So, Chris, do we want to talk quickly portal exits? And I've got some high school stuff and some other stuff to share.
Portal. Yeah, portal. Actually, yes, we can go there because there is a question I want to ask you right off the rip because we should have talked about it in retention. The biggest elephant in the room. What the hell is going on with Mateer? Jason's dying to know. Look at his face. Look at his face.
Well, everyone's dying to know.
I only want the right I only want the right answer, man. That's all.
Well, that depends what the right answer is, right?
I think you know.
Well, I know the answer you want. The right answer.
I know I'm just busting chops. But
I know you bust. The right answer, I think, falls somewhere right in the middle, wherever you are. But I don't know. I mean, if I was Satania, I'd probably like to know Mateer's coming back, right? Because he fed me the football, he made me look good. So if there's a number one Mateer fan, it's probably Isaiah Satania, right? I mean, I think we can basically say that's probably fairly true or something like that. Thank you, Michael. Yep, Brazil from Tulane. So there you go. So is UK Dan transferring out? I haven't heard that yet, but I think an honest conversation about where he is needs to happen just for him, his development, and his perspective. But if he's ready to make a move at guard, then no, we don't need to lose him. But if that's not ready to happen, then he needs to go somewhere else and get reps and play. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Mateer. There's no sign. There's nothing. I've not heard the rumblings since a couple of weeks ago. So no news is there.
All right, keep on moving. Portal.
All right, so Troy Everett, good guy, injured. Thanks. He's apparently close to getting a waiver or gotten a waiver. NL Commish David Stone's not going to give us another scare. That's not happening. Jacob Sexton saying thanks for playing. There's some nice parting gifts. Marcus Wimberly is maybe the one. Ooh, we lost the freshman. Basically, he got injured, so he fell behind Omarion Robinson and the other kids who redshirted but were playing and practicing. He's been in a sling since I think like March. So he's just fallen so far behind that I think he thinks he needs to go somewhere else to see the field immediately to try and catch up. And I don't blame him for that decision. We're going to see some of these decisions for guys who kind of lose momentum from injuries on the defensive side and fall behind on the depth chart. And I think Wimberly just falls into that category. I think KJ Daniels posted something where he basically said he was portaling but hasn't portaled yet. The kind of that I'm thinking about it, God will show me the way kind of message. And I think God is going to show him the way to the portal.
That was... Keep going, Chris Mason. Keep going. I'm going to mute myself.
Oh, Lord.
Well, works in mysterious ways, right?
He does indeed.
He does indeed. I mean, he just needs to play, and he's not playing at OU, and he's been hurt. So he needs to find somewhere where he can play. And he's a talented kid, but it's just not going to happen at OU, and that's just the facts. So that's what I got from portal exits. And we're going to see more over the next couple of days, right? It's just they're just filtering in, and we'll see right before the second, we'll see maybe a little mini rush. But my sources say don't anticipate any surprises or any real that's bad. Most of it's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball as we anticipate. May have a surprise on the offensive line here or there, but I don't think anything that's really going to shock anybody really from that perspective. Obviously you don't want to lose a Zeta and Howland. Would it really shock you if either one hit the portal? No. We'd like those guys back as depth pieces and to compete.
I think Ozida kind of expected to get some playing time next year.
Well, I think he should get right guard. I actually think they should be having Ozada work at center all spring. See if he can
Darius
snap.
Afalava is going to be up for that one as well, wouldn't he? Wouldn't he be?
Yeah, I think Akinkimi and Afalava. It's time for those guys to hit their second. There should be second team in play, but I think for the most part, Chris and Jason, we're not going to have like some big shocking surprise. Will something happen at the quarterback position in one of the quarterbacks? They got 5 right now. I doubt they carry 5 through spring. So I think you'll see something with somebody. 4 seems like the right number. 5 seems like one too high. But, the kids, I mean, there's so many quarterbacks in the portal. If you're Jet New, do you really want to go in the portal? With no film, no assets? Do you want to continue working at OU and continue working on your game? That might be a smarter move. So we'll see what happens there. But I would anticipate a big portal exits. But if you want, we can move to end with some high school information, since technically we do it is Portal Combat, but I got some high school nuggets for you guys as well.
Right.
All right. Okay, so first off, just one thing back to the portal, and I'll give you guys this nugget. My source said that OU is all in for 2026 in the portal. Nagy was told, get the team fixed. We're all in for next year.
Which means they're going to go and get who they need for where they need them.
That's what Nagy's been told. Go, we are all in. When they got all the defenders back and you saw the defensive depth on that team, I think that's where that came in. All right. The other point.
Real quick, before you go to high school, did you guys? I don't know if I missed it or were you already talking about Kip and Satania?
We did right off the bat. So Jason, I said that I feel like Kip is 80% coming back. Satania is somewhere like 70, 75.
Okay.
But the general consensus is that OU has found workable deals for both of them, kind of mirroring what they did with R. Mason Thomas's Kip and Burks and Satania, kind of what they did last year to retain those two guys from a strategy standpoint.
And Heineke is willing to battle it out in court to come back for another season. Commish, I would just say that's something that Mr. Mason's been talking about for the past couple of weeks. And if it goes to the courts, the NCAA hasn't been winning much.
And the NCAA has minorly screwed themselves, I believe, with this. Chris and I were talking about this rash of European and G League players getting eligibility to play in the NCAA-controlled hoops tournament where the NCAA makes most of their money. Not exactly a surprise that, OU had a Russian guy no one has ever heard of play for them tonight. I mean, and then Baylor's got some 7-foot center who was a first-round draft pick. So I think the NCAA Jason may have opened up another window to allow waivers like this and lawsuits to kind of get pushed through. And I think we're reaching a tipping point where the NCAA just needs to say, blanket 5 years, blanket 6 years, whatever. No more waivers.
Yeah, 6 for 5, 6 for 5 or whatever.
Yeah. No more waivers, no more deals. This is it. Done. And I think most of the big-time schools would be happy with that. I think the lower schools are concerned about 85 scholarships over 5 years, the money deal there. But the big-time schools don't care about this issue. They just want to keep and develop their talent. So that's where we were with. We didn't really talk about Owen, but I believe you're right that Heineke is. The Senior Bowl's the problem, right? He needs to get some answers before the Senior Bowl because once he tests at the Senior Bowl, if he tests very well, he could come back and get a 3rd-round grade. He's like, okay. Well,
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that could easily happen. So, so let me talk about a little high school information for you guys real quick. So I told you guys that their OU's all in on 2026, right? The donors are telling Nagy that, right? On the flip side, OU's 2025 season, it's supercharged 2027 recruiting, right? All the kids that we were getting negatively recruited with in 2026 that we couldn't turn the corner on, the high-rated kids for the 2026 signing day. For 2027, it's completely flipped. They've all been to OU home games. They've all seen us play football. They know what's going on with OU and the momentum, and they see it. So the feedback from top kids in 2027 has been so great that OU's having to shift funds over to make sure that they don't miss out on any of the kids they really want because they're lower. Basically, They're blowing out 2027, and Nagy's been able to transmit that message to folks. So money's being moved over to 2027 to a greater degree because OU's recruiting is going so damn well. And we'll talk. And the next thing on the high school recruiting thing is the Under Armour game is January 3rd. Two OU verbals. One signee, one verbal is playing in it. No Shawty Taker Parker, but there's no point spending a lot of money, trying to spend a lot of money for kids that you can't get. If you can't understand that, I don't really know that I can answer your question.
That was a UGA trolls question.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's our former UGA wide receiver Shotty that comes on the show with us.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll enjoy David Jacobs from Roswell, Georgia, which is like 15 miles from my house in Buckhead, Georgia, choosing Ohio State over UGA. Have fun with that, Shotty.
Oh, fires right back.
Can't keep your own kids in state while you talking about OU recruiting. So anyway, so Crew Jones is there. He's verbal to OU. Jake Krill is there. He's signed with OU. And Zane Rowe is basically hanging out with them. So my sources, before it got posted elsewhere, told me that OU feels like they made a huge move with Zane Rowe. And then Chad Simmons from Rivals is close to predicting him to OU. Zane Rowe could either be a big defensive end, or you could move him inside. He's got a huge frame. He's really athletic, and make him a 3-tech that terrorizes college football. Two other names at the Under Armour game to watch. Brian Swanson, a big offensive tackle from South Oak Cliff, will be there. Josh Dobson, the 5-star cornerback from South Carolina, who's been to OU twice on his own dime, is there. And I don't know that it'll make any difference, but Jones, Krill, and Rowe are going to be hanging out with Jalen Brewster pretty much for 3 days. And Jalen Brewster won't have any other Texas Tech friends around him, but he's probably going to be surrounded by 3 guys signed with OU or going to OU. If I was Jalen, I might make note of the fact that I'm going to be all alone at Texas Tech, or maybe I should rethink about being mentored by Todd Bates and being a first-round top 5 pick and being surrounded by elite defensive talent around me. Who knows? Maybe just something to think about. But that's it for high school information. Like I said, I predicted Zane Rowe to OU in my last December prediction on my Patreon site. If you subscribe for my Patreon site, you can find that. Find who else I think will be Sooners. But that's it for high school info, unless there's Jimmy Satterfield, you are right. He needs to not go to Texas Tech. He needs to wake up and be a Sooner.
All right. Well, people, we've been on here for an hour and 18 minutes. Normally I would stress the fact that we're on here for a good time, not a long time, but we went a little bit overboard tonight.
We had a lot of portal shit to talk about.
Info.
And we haven't even gotten anybody yet.
And I will say this right here. Saturday's a new day for everybody. I think you're going to see news throughout the week. You will see some news on Thursday and Friday during the bowl games or the obviously the playoff games. But Saturday through those 2 weeks, Saturday starts those 2 weeks. Friday starts those 2 weeks. Matter of fact, so it's going to be off and running. And Chris Mason, Jason, and myself, we will try to be here as much as possible to, help digest the news. Hopefully we can break some news, but we'll help digest the news and do all the rest of those things. So definitely check out Jason, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast with the coach. You'll see him tomorrow, obviously. Horns Down Podcast with me, and then Sooners 360. Again, Sooners 360 is your central location for not the fluff, all the good stuff with recruiting. So with that being said, people, we're going to let you go. Jason, if you hit the intro one more time, we'll be out of here.
Peace.